soil is to leave body with meaning, like words have sounds that hum a language others could never understand. To plant feet in dirt is home to spirit, spirit to earth. Things I heard my Lolo say when he spoke of the rice fields. It's because of this I now finish every rice off my plate. Still, it wasn't till years later that I slept in the jungles of Mindanao, stayed warmed by Moro women who wanted me to listen to the rain that fell upon the hut that kept us dry, trickling down as they fed us the rice that made for us. Eat, she says, you drink calamansi juice and she will heal you till your fever's gone. I feared that maybe I had caught the dengue, bitten, bedridden, tired and hidden under the banana leaves as we kept our eyes open all night, never knowing when someone would come in to take someone away as they had taken their husbands away and raped their sisters. It was then that I knew resistance must take form in ways that I wasn't familiar with, my comfortable ways of organizing. I realized this with my Lola's story of digging the soil beneath her as she was pregnant with mother in her tummy. She dug and dug and dug and hid all 7 of her children in the earth as they came in to conquer people, not just land. Far past the souks, past the hidden art gallery in the alleys, past the pastries, past the gladiator coliseums, past the clock tower in downtown Tunisia, I met her. Seen her face as she feared her life. Those who resisted in their first hunger strike, eyes that looked deep into mine so I would never forget that I was living far and safe in my hometown Queens, dealing with our own drug wars, gang wars, political wars, the racial tension wars, wars in a household of 26 family members migrating into the only home I ever knew. This is the reality of what forced migration can do to you, into the home. I learned how to fight with everything I've got, fighting off sexual abuse, fighting off the violence, fighting in the only ways I knew how to run with my sister, run with my cousin, just run, just keep on running from this internalized war inside my life.
Yeah, Filipino-American is, one, it's a loaded question, right? For a very long time, I used to identify as an American Filipino. So get 2 on this next one. And then you're gonna start rolling it towards that area, or again, carry it, you can too. Because I used to see myself as an American first, but now it's like, I know that I'm Filipino-American. What is Filipino-American? I guess it depends on who you're asking, right? If you're asking me, I think it's an American who happens to be Filipino, right? From Filipino culture. But I think even Filipino-Americans don't have to be citizens, although I am. You know, I was naturalized, I was born in the Philippines. I came over here before I was 1. I was naturalized when I was 6, I believe. So Filipino, growing up in Paradise Hills, specifically, everyone was practically Filipino. I think my school might have been 50% Filipino. Growing up everywhere is all you knew. Right? I don't think it's. When I was growing up, I didn't think it was discovering a Filipino identity. It's just a homeless. Right? It's not like, oh, you're Filipino because of this and this and this. Oh, because you have a spoon and fork on your wall. You know, because your house always smells like fish. You know, those little things make us Filipino, but it was never like, we know about the history, we know about our identity. It wasn't things like that. It was just the cultural references.
I know
very little.
The slightest bit. One of my best friends is Filipino, and she's like, tried to introduce me a little bit to it. But I'd say this is pretty much my first overall introduction to the culture. San Diego is such a diverse place. And it all kind of matters how we all interact with each other, how our cultures mix, because that's what makes San Diego and the U.S. what we are. I'd say what I expect from the event kind of is just to learn a little bit more about Filipino culture, whether it be kind of, what are polite things to do, a little bit more about the history of the culture, foods, dance, whatever is kind of popular in that.
That's a pretty good summary, so. Jamie's gone, right?
Good morning, guys. Yes, you see where the yeah, the red. So right next to that. You're fine. Okay. Thanks, guys. When I got involved in 2007, actually 2008, it's because it took place down the street from where I lived at the time. And you know, so I would just go down there and check it out. I did that for like 2 years before they brought me on board in 2008. You know, just a regular person, just kind of go for this, go for that, go for that. The year after that, you know, they asked me to be a program director. I was all right, cool. So I did a little bit of that. During those years, we had attendance in like over 10,000, right? We're looking at 12,000, I think, 1 year. At not any given moment, but 12,000 people were there. Now, what it means for us is it was an opportunity to have representation, right? And see it, you know, like, oh, cool, there's the Filipino dances, there's Filipino food, you know, and we were so used to having it for us that we forgot it's not just us, you know, we need to show it to other folks too.
From artists, from the food is becoming more mainstream. You even got actors are becoming more popular, getting their opportunities here. And even we did the LA County Fair for the first time this year, and we had a lot of different races were buying the Filipino shirts because they knew someone who would appreciate it. And there's a lot of missionaries who go to the Philippines, and they related to the shirts, so they're buying them for themselves. So I wasn't surprised. And when I had a lot of Americans, white people coming and buying, they were buying for themselves because they knew friends who. They have Filipino friends, and they got all the humor in there. They're really into the Filipino culture, and I was really surprised. That's the first time, and I was trying to reach out to Filipinos. Normally, would go to a Filipino festival, and it was pretty successful. And when they come see this stop, they said, "Oh my gosh, these are awesome!" So they end up buying not for themselves; they're buying gifts.
FilAm Fest. This is a Filipino-American celebration about my culture, our culture as Filipino-Americans, you know. It's really untold, so, you know, I'm really glad to be a part of this, glad to be a part of an organization that wants to put our history out here. It's October, so Filipino-American History Month. That's what it's all about, man. Filipinos have the most pride, really, you know. Fried rice, fried chicken, fried fish. So that's what I'm here for, man. There's something great about having awareness and celebration of our culture. It's not just Filipino Fest, it's FilAm Fest, and it's there for a reason, just because of the fact that the United States was the one that stood for a melting pot, obviously. So there is a cultural connection between how much Filipinos have given and Americans have given back. And it's just great to see an event like this, to see a connection between identities and between people, and maybe I hope that it grants an understanding of what it means to be Filipino-American and not just separates one human from another. To be Filipino in America, I feel like there is some sort of kind of unbeknownst credibility and our part in American history. Yeah, actually my grandfather was actually affected by you know, the type of political climate that we're in. He had a dual citizenship. He was born in the Philippines, obviously, and he came to the United States. He got a citizenship here, and during World War II, he actually was part of the NPA, the guerrilla army that helped fight alongside the United States to stop the Japanese, and was part of the Filipino insurrection. And he was promised a citizenship and benefits the same way that the United States Army was received. When he came to the States, that wasn't granted. So, I mean, luckily he did get his own citizenship, but through his own way. And after Trump became president, most of his benefits, such as healthcare and Medicare, Medicaid, weren't received properly. So he felt that the only option was to go back to the Philippines. His own life, basically, you know, is gone just because of the fact that there's these racist undertones that come from electing someone so vile and has no understanding of what it means to truly be an American. You know, my grandfather's just as American as anyone else. He's given so much for this country and for his homeland, which he identifies both to be the United States and the Philippines. So it affects me greatly. You know, I basically lost my grandfather to to what we see to be just the standard of what political climate is. I feel like it reaches just beyond Filipinos and Americans. It's not just secluded to those two, but rather, it's like I said before, it's a unity of being human, and it shows that there are some cultural connects between more than just being Filipino and being an American. We're not hard to find, San Diego, especially Daly City, San Francisco. We're out here, we have a lot of people, a lot of culture. We're deeply rooted, Yeah, I'm Filipino, I'm American, I'm who I am. Yeah.
How many chairs are left over there? I had some other folks that are non-Filipino that came by, because I invited them. I was like, so what do you think about it? He says, oh, I didn't know there was so many Filipinos in San Diego. I was like, yeah, we're all here in this little cluster. And the fact that it was very different than years past, where in the years past we used to shut down the street, like right by the skate park. So you were forced to see us. This year we were kind of mitigated and mitigated might come with a negative stigma, but we decided to go to the parking lot of SCPA where people could maybe drive by and see it and what's going on. The feedback was pretty positive, even though it was a different place. It felt very tight-knit and family-oriented. But again, we talk about representation and seeing us. And I think that was really important for communities. I hope that's what we did. When I speak of the disconnect, I want to try and break down these mental walls that we have within our own communities. And the only way to do that was to have these conversations. We need to listen to everybody at the table. First, we need to bring everybody to the table. That's important as well, right? If we're not reaching out to the folks, how are they supposed to be represented? So I think the first stage is, if you were to ask me what I do, is to get everyone to the table and then try and listen to understand.
I loved it. I mean, several times that night I wanted to cry. I still want to cry thinking about it. It's very rare when we can have an event like that is at that big capacity with so many people and with just a sense of community, especially at night. That matters to me, having events like that, because then you defy whatever people say about it. Then you defy what they say about us as Filipino-Americans. So for me, I've done so many events in my life as an artist for 20 years. I've done huge concerts, I've traveled around the world, but there's always nothing like being in my own community and doing something that's successful. Because it's also about visibility and representation for us. But then also with purpose and meaning, and that says a lot about an event for me. And now I can't wait for something every year. For me, when I was a young child, I was brought up not really knowing a lot about my culture, my history. I'm from Queens, New York. Born and raised there, so I have a different perspective than a lot of folks in the West Coast. Didn't meet FilAms until I got to high school. There was about maybe one or two in my elementary school, and I didn't really understand what being Filipino meant. My family didn't really dive into history or our roots and teaching me the things that I feel I wish I would have known more about, even though I don't speak my language, even all these things. I'm like, but I am. Because when I go to school, I'm not American to many people. So then what am I? So there's this constant question of, what am I? Am I Filipino? Am I not Filipino? Am I Asian? Am I not Asian? What am I? Am I American or not? And so I don't really like the term American, but at the same time I know I'm attached to that because that is part of my identity. There's a certain privilege that I have that folks here in the States don't have, and then that dynamic too. So it's a complex question with so many layers to unpack. I wanted to dig deeper and see what the issues are, and as I grew, I realized how systemic they were. And so that's when my path changed. My path actually changed because I was an artist. So a lot of times I feel I came into this direction because as a hip-hop artist, to me, you're not really doing hip-hop if you're not doing social justice work. There's message in a lot of the music, and you unpack that. And then you sit with that for a minute, and you're like, I'm learning something from this, especially as a brown person. If you're learning how to think critically, you're able to see what's around you and what's happening around you. So for me, I'm grateful because I had people around me that taught me to think critical. Had it not been for that, I don't know where I'd be. Community organizing work, activist work is no joke. It is no joke. Like, it's hard. You have to be on the go. We have to do this in solidarity with people. And then we have to be prepared and be armed. That means we have to be prepared health-wise, emotionally, physically, take care of one another. We need a lot more taking care of each other. Just, that's what real revolutionary love is, you know, like, that's what you call showing up for each other. We could be doing activist work for someone down the block, but are we showing up for one another in the room? Be ready. Be prepared. Arm yourself. Like, seriously, self-care, number one. I think we owe it to ourselves that, one, we have to realize we're not here to be saviors. We're not here to be heroes. We're here to work with people. From Philippines to hip-hop to Palestine, I make beats like my Lola making rice and my Lola digging soil to find meaning with rhythm as we all find peace, land, and home. Thank you.